to Yggdrasil!
You have rather an important task to be getting on. Go, save the world.
Hey, welcome to Attack the Stack. If you like that, try this.
My first guinea pig.
Father, look out!
Before we get started, I want to let you guys know that some of these games play more similarly to Dragon Quest XI, while others are more closely related in setting. But all of them are worth your time. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get to it. Dragon Quest VIII Journey of the Cursed King is a role-playing game developed by Level 5 and published by Square Enix. It is the first English version of a Dragon Quest game to drop the Dragon Warrior title. Dragon Quest VIII uses cell shading for the characters and scenery and is the first game in the series to have fully 3D environments and character models. The game retains most of the series' role-playing game elements, such as turn-based combat and the experience level system. Dragon Quest VIII follows the silent protagonist and his party of allies as they journey towards the goal of defeating the wicked Dulmagus, who cursed the kingdom of Tradain and its people. This is by far the most similar game to Dragon Quest XI there is. Dragon Quest VIII was the game that got me into Dragon Quest. If you love Dragon Quest XI, trust me, you're really gonna like Dragon Quest VIII. Much of the gameplay from Dragon Quest XI is clearly inspired by Dragon Quest VIII. If you'd like to experience almost the entirety of the series, Dragon Quest 1 through 8 can be found on iOS and Android devices, in their respective app stores. Now that is a JRPG jackpot if there ever was one.
Deep in the dark heart of the world, the Black One lies, his wings are furled.
Dragon Quest Heroes, The World Tree's Woe, and The Blight Below is a hack-and-slash game developed by Omega Force and published by Square Enix. The game is set in the kingdom of Arba, where mankind and monsters live peacefully. One day, monsters begin to attack mankind suddenly, leading to the captains of the Royal Guard, Lucius and Aurora, to recover the hearts of monsters. The nefarious Velasco schemes to plunge the world into darkness by taking control of all the monsters in order to release the darkness dragon, Shadrach, Lord of the Night. As either the hero Lucius or the heroine Aurora, the player must bring the rampaging hordes of monsters to their senses and restore order to the kingdom. Dragon Quest Heroes mixes the hack-and-slash combat of Koei Tecmo's Dynasty Warriors series of video games with the characters, monsters, universe, and lore from the Dragon Quest series. The game is much more heavy on RPG elements than most of Omega Force's other titles. The game has a roster of 13 characters that the player can choose from, each having unique weapons and abilities. Some of these characters are even fan-favorite Dragon Quest characters, but many other characters show up as NPCs. The game received generally positive reviews. If you haven't played this game yet, you'll be surprised to know that it actually plays a lot more like a traditional action RPG than you'd think.
Arise, legendary builder! Only you have the power to build anything and everything to save the world and its people.
Dragon Quest Builders is a sandbox action role-playing game developed and published by Square Enix. The game is set in Alefgard, the world of the original Dragon Quest game. The game is based on a parallel ending of Dragon Quest. Before the final battle, the hero accepted the evil Dragon Lord's suggestion: each rules a half of the world. The deal turned out to be a trap, leading to the hero's defeat and allowing the land to be dominated by monsters. With time passing by, a new builder, the player character, appears to revive the desolate world for the next hero. Players gather material all over the world in order to rebuild the land of Alefgard from scratch. The game features a blocky aesthetic style, with gathering and building elements similar to games such as Minecraft. Players build camps out of blocks. The camp gains levels based on how much it has been built up. Monsters such as Slime and Dragon from the original Dragon Quest appear in the game. The player has a health bar and must eat food over time, similar to Minecraft. If you like Minecraft but you want a more Dragon Quest style story, check this one out. Final Fantasy IX is a role-playing game developed and published by Square Enix. The plot centers on the consequences of a war between nations in a medieval fantasy world called Gaia. Players follow bandit Zidane Tribal, who kidnaps Alexandrian princess Garnet Till Alexandros XVII, as part of a gambit by the neighboring nation of Lindblum. He joins Garnet and a growing cast of characters on a quest to take down her mother, Queen Braun of Alexandria, who started the war. Envisioned by developers as a retrospective for the series, it departed from the futuristic settings of the 3 entries in the series that preceded it by returning to the medieval style of earlier installments. Consequently, it was influenced heavily by the original Final Fantasy, and features allusions to the rest of the games. Despite the approach, the game did introduce new features to the series, such as active time event cutscenes, Mognet, and skill systems. Final Fantasy IX was released to critical acclaim and is often considered one of the greatest video games of all time. Often cited by critics and fans as one of the best Final Fantasy games, it also holds the highest Metacritic score of the series. Indeed, I personally think Final Fantasy IX is the best Final Fantasy of the ones with the medieval setting.
Once upon a time, there was a world torn by endless war, and peace was a distant dream.
Ninokuni 2 Revenant Kingdom is an action role-playing game developed by Level 5 and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment. The story follows Evan Pettywhisker Tildrum, a young king who was usurped from his castle and sets out to build a new kingdom. Outside of quests, players can freely roam the open world where they explore towns, villages, dungeons, and other dangerous places scattered throughout the world. When players encounter enemies, they enter a battle system. Battles take place on an open battlefield, allowing players to freely roam around the area. During battles, players command a single ally in their party. A party consists of 3 chosen characters, which can be switched between at any time during battle. The other 2 characters fight freely on their own. To fight enemies, players use melee attacks, magical abilities, and Higgledies. Higgledies are small creatures which exist in several forms, representing one of 6 elements, each with their own strengths. Players can have up to 4 in a party at one time. In Revenant Kingdom, players have the ability to build and manage Evan's kingdom, focusing on the arrangement of the workforces within the town to provide materials and shops, such as for weapons and armor. The game received generally positive critical reception.
This is the Mana Sword.
Trials of Mana is an action role-playing game developed by Zine and published by Square Enix. It is a 3D remake of the Super Famicom title of the same name, the 3rd game in the Mana series. The story follows 6 possible protagonists in their respective quests, which lead them to obtain the Mana Sword and fight a world-ending threat. In gameplay, the player controls 3 out of 6 characters, navigating field environments, fighting enemies in real-time combat, and making use of character classes. New to the gameplay and storylines is a post-game chapter with an unlockable class. Production of Trials of Mana was spurred on by Western demand, as the game originally had not been localized. Originally a near-direct remake with plans for multiplayer as in the original, the team instead went for a 3D single-player experience which tweaked some aspects and added content while remaining faithful overall. The soundtrack by Hiroki Kikuta was arranged by a large team with Kikuta supervising. Reception of the game on release was generally positive, with praise going to its redesigned combat and soundtrack.
I remember the glistening of the driven snow. When the world beckoned to me with open arms.
I Am Satsuna is a Japanese role-playing game developed by Tokyo RPG Factory and published by Square Enix. The story, set in a land gripped by perpetual winter, follows a mercenary and his charge, a maiden named Satsuna who must offer herself as a sacrifice at a sacred shrine to appease hostile demons. The story's central theme is sadness. The gameplay, which is deliberately designed to evoke role-playing games of the 1990s, players take control of a party of characters, navigating environments from an angled, top-down perspective. Enemies are represented by icons. Contact with the icons initiates a battle. Battles take place in the environments where the enemy is encountered, rather than shifting to a specific battle arena. Characters fight using a version of the active time battle system featured in games such as entries in the Final Fantasy series. After each action is taken by a character in battle, an ATB gauge must fill up again before another action is taken. Available actions include attacking with weapons, using special combat abilities or magic, which are lumped together as techs, or using an item.
In the faraway land of Orstera, 8 travelers venture forth.
Octopath Traveler is a turn-based role-playing game developed by Square Enix in collaboration with Acquire. Octopath Traveler sports a graphical aesthetic known as HD 2D, defined by the developers as combining retro Super Nintendo-style character sprites and textures with polygonal environments and high-definition effects. The game puts players in the role of one of 8 adventurers, each of whom begins their journey in different ways. Each character comes from different parts of the world, each of which determines their job or attribute. Each character has a unique path action command that can be used when interacting with NPCs. When a player loses enough reputation by failed usage of their respective path action in a given town, they can no longer use their path action on any NPCs in that town. The game features turn-based battles in which the player can attack using different kinds of weapons or elemental attacks, as well as use abilities and items. Atelier Riza, Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout is a role-playing game developed by Gus Co. Limited. It is the 21st main entry in the Atelier series. Atelier Riza revolves around the story of Rieselin Stout, a girl living in Kruken Island who is bored by the island's peacefulness. She thus turns to her friends, finds an abandoned rowboat, and rows to a mainland. There she finds Empel Valmer, who introduces her to alchemy. Thus, she begins her adventure as an alchemist. Atelier Riza has a significant crafting component called alchemy. In the combat portions of the game, battles utilize a modified turn-based combat system incorporating real-time elements. Time moves continuously while the player gives commands to the characters in the party. Attacks build action points, which can be used to perform skills or special attacks, or to raise the party's tactics level, which gives access to more powerful abilities. Outside of combat, the game revolves around alchemy. This involves gathering resources while out in the field and placing them onto a field of elemental nodes to discover new recipes and create a wide variety of usable items. New to the series in Atelier Riza is the ability to automate gathering and item synthesis for players that are more interested in other aspects of the game. The Alliance Alive is a role-playing game developed by Cattle Call, with assistance from Grezzo and Fu Ryu. The game was published worldwide by Atlas USA. The scenario was written by Yoshitaka Murayama, noted for his work on the Suikoden series. The story follows a group of characters as they mount a rebellion against a race of demons that have ruled over humans since blotting out the sun a millennium before. Gameplay follows many traditions of the Japanese role-playing genre, including turn-based battles and navigation using a world map. Players take control of a group of eventually numbering 9 characters, navigating an unnamed fantasy world in a quest to free it from the control of otherworldly beings called demons. Players explore a world map, first on foot and later using vehicles, which can unlock previously inaccessible parts of the map. During the course of the story, the party unites human-staffed guilds scattered across the land, based in guild towers, which are either found on the world map or can be built by the player in select locations. There are 5 types of guild towers available, which grant different status buffs to the party, with the type of guild tower available to build depending on which characters have been recruited into the party. Guild towers can communicate with each other during the course of the game using the telegraph system, which allows towers to gain experience levels and unlock new abilities. Bravely Default is a role-playing video game developed by Silicon Studio. Square Enix published the game in Japan, while Nintendo handled publishing duties overseas. The gameplay uses a turn-based battle system and job system, in addition to incorporating options to combine job abilities and adjust battle speed and random encounter rates. Bravely Default is set in the world of Luxendark, which is kept in balance by 4 elemental crystals protected by the Crystal Orthodoxy, a religious group with influence across the world. Agnes Obliged, Vestal of the Wind Crystal, is forced to begin a journey to awaken the crystals after they are consumed by darkness. Allying with Tiz Arior, the sole survivor from Norende, amnesiac Ringabel, and Eternian director Adia Lee, Agnes sets out to awaken the crystals and confront a greater evil responsible for events. The game was influenced by Western video games and television series, and individual elements were inspired by aspects of the Dragon Quest series and Higurashi When They Cry. The music, composed by Revo of Sound Horizon, was intended to evoke the feelings of classic series such as Dragon Quest and Saga. In both Japan and overseas, Bravely Default met with critical acclaim. Common praise went to the gameplay's mixture of traditional mechanics and new elements, along with its storyline, graphics, and music. Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai is a Japanese manga based on the video game series of the same name. It was written by Riku Sanjo and illustrated by Koji Inada. The manga was adapted into an anime series produced by Toei Animation. The story begins with a young boy named Dai remembering a story told to him by his adoptive grandfather, the monster magician Brass. The story is about the defeat of the Demon King Hadler by the hands of a hero known as Ivan. After the defeat of the Demon King, all of the monsters were released from his evil will and peace reigned supreme around the world once again for 10 years. Some monsters moved to the island of Dermline to live in peace. Dai, the young protagonist of the series, is the only human living on the island. Having been raised by Brass and with his best friend, the monster Gom, Dai grows up dreaming of becoming a hero. The show is getting a complete HD overhaul that releases later this year in Japan. It's also getting a new game to accompany it, but again, only in Japan so far. Hopefully, both get localized at some point and we can enjoy them here in the West. Dragon Warrior: Legend of the Hero Abel is an anime series loosely based on Dragon Quest III. The names of some of the characters are familiar, but the world map is smaller and a very different shape. The 2 main characters are Abel and Tiala. Tiala receives the legendary Red Stone from the Aliahan village sage master Yogi. Soon after, Talia is kidnapped by the evil Baramos, who wants to use the Redstone to resurrect the Great Dragon and be granted eternal life. Abel swore to rescue Tiala, and he is given the Blue Stone, which can only seal the dragon once it has been released.
Me? The hero?
Find the Zenithian sword and seal the gates to the Dark World.
Dragon Quest Your Story is a Japanese 3D CG anime film based on the Dragon Quest series, adapting the storyline of Dragon Quest V. The story begins with Lucas's birth, followed by him and his father Pancraz leaving Gotha to travel the world to avenge the boy's mother Mata. On his childhood travels, Luca meets Bianca while acquiring both a golden orb and a saber cat cub he names Percy.
A warrior emerges, an adventure begins, and a legend is born.
Dragon Ball is a Japanese anime television series produced by Toei Animation. It is an adaptation of the first 194 chapters of the manga of the same name created by Akira Toriyama. The series begins with a young monkey-tailed boy named Goku befriending a teenage girl named Bulma. Together, they go on an adventure to find the 7 mystical Dragon Balls, which have the ability to summon the powerful dragon Shenron, who can grant whoever summoned him or her their greatest desire.
When you were just a baby, your father abandoned you to be a hunter. You know that, don't you? I do.
Hunter x Hunter is an anime television series based on Yoshihiro Togashi's Hunter x Hunter manga. The story begins with a boy named Gon Freaks, who one day discovers that the father, who he thought was dead, is in fact alive and well. He learns that his father, Ging, is a legendary hunter, an individual who has proven themselves an elite member of humanity. Despite the fact that Ging left his son with his relatives in order to pursue his own dreams, Gon becomes determined to follow his father's footsteps, pass the rigorous hunter examination, and eventually find his father to become a hunter in his own right. It is a complete reboot of the series starting from the beginning of the manga, with no connections to the first anime from the 90s. Magical Circle Guru Guru is a Japanese manga by Hiroyuki Ito. It was later adapted into an anime series. Magical Circle Guru Guru is a lighthearted series aimed at older children. It contains occasional toilet gags and some innuendo that might startle Western parents. Magical Circle Guru Guru is a parody of early role-playing games, particularly turn-based games such as Dragon Quest. The narrator speaks in place of the dialogue in such games, and this is one of the comedy elements of the show. Often, role-playing game-style information boxes are displayed on the screen with accompanying narration in the traditional RPG style. The overall goal of the main characters, Nikke and Kukuri, is to defeat Giri, the ruler of the darkness. Since the anime series is based on an RPG, several side quests need to be completed before they're able to locate him. A new series based on the manga, animated by Production IG, is the first anime from the franchise to receive an official English release. The Seven Deadly Sins is a television series based on a Japanese fantasy manga series of the same name, written and illustrated by Nakaba Suzuki. The Seven Deadly Sins are a band of knights in the land of Britannia who had disbanded 10 years earlier after being framed for plotting a coup of the Lion's Kingdom. The Holy Knights who sequestered them before taking control in the wake of a rebellion they organized. Lion's third princess, Elizabeth Lyons, finds the Seven Deadly Sins leader, Melodius, before they search out his comrades so they can clear their names and liberate Lions from the Holy Knights, who were manipulated by a demon named Frodrin into unsealing the demon race from their prison. As the Sins fight against the Ten Commandments led by his brother Zeldris, Melodius is revealed to be the Demon King's cursed son, whose destiny is tied to Elizabeth's.
Do you really think we can conquer the tower and defeat Draga?
I don't know, but we at least have to try.
The Tower of Draga, the Aegis of Uruk, is a Japanese anime television series created by Gonzo and is an animated reboot and continuation of Namco's Babylonian Castle Saga video game franchise, which began as an arcade game, The Tower of Draga. It has been 80 years since the King Gilgamesh defeated the tower single-handedly, and now the tower is reborn again. The city of Meskia is the first stronghold built on the first level of the tower. In addition to the Uruk army preparing for their third campaign against Draga, innumerable adventurers called climbers have been drawn to Meskia by rumors of the Blue Crystal Rod, a legendary treasure believed to be hidden on the top floor of the tower. Jill, a young guardian and new climber, has traveled to the tower and Meskia. The story follows Jill, who wishes to reach the top floor of the tower. On the top floor is the evil Lord Draga, and numerous monsters and traps inhabit the floors along the way.
Hey, Parn! If you really want to fight me, you'd better hurry up! And you guys, watch for his magical friends! Keep them back!
Record of Lotus War is a franchise of fantasy novels by Ryu Mizuno based on the work he originally created for a world called Forcelia as a rules-free setting for role-playing games. The plots generally follow the conventions and structure of the RPG systems, including Dungeons & Dragons and Sword World RPG, in which several characters of distinct types undertake a specific quest. 2 anime series based on the Record of Lodoss War novels and role-playing games have been released in various forms. The first series, Record of Lodoss War, is a 13-episode original video animation produced by Madhouse Studios. Later, AIC produced Record of Lodoss War Chronicles of the Heroic Knight, a 27-episode anime series that continued the story of the first OVA series, but ignored its last third in order to adapt the original novel series more faithfully.
We strike when the moon is highest.
The Dragon Prince is an American fantasy computer-animated web television series created for Netflix by Aaron Ehasz and Justin Richmond, produced by Wonderstorm and animated by Bardell Entertainment. The series is set in a fantasy world on the continent of Zadia, which is rich in magic derived from 6 primal elements: the sun, moon, stars, earth, sky, and ocean. Centuries ago, the dragons, elves, and humans of Zadia lived in peace. However, the humans, being unable to utilize magic naturally, began to use dark magic, which is fueled by the life essence of magical creatures. As a consequence, they were driven away to the west, and the continent was split in 2 by a massive river of lava. 1,000 years later, the story here begins. If you liked the video or it helped you out, click the thumbs up button below. It really helps us out. If you think it could help others, share it. Of course, subscribe for more content like this and more. And if you have anything to add to our list, feel free to comment below. Thanks for watching, and keep attacking.